All right, so we're going to do a screen share and walk through what we're doing this week. And you should be able to see our Blackboard class. Can you see our Blackboard class? Fantastic, hot dog. Okay, so I want you to notice there's a new module available to you. This is called exams, and we're going to be working in there starting this week. I'm going to go and take a look at week 15 as well, just so that you can finish that. So you're working in two places this week. You're working in the week 15 area and the exams area. In the week 15 area, you can see that there's a link to complete your student evaluations. If you tried this before Thanksgiving, it might not have worked. The administration was still working to get Banner to load those evaluations, but they are there now and the link should work. Let's check it for a second. When you click that link, it takes you to the login instructions, and the login instructions ask you to use your Lawson State email address. That's your A number at lawsonstate.edu, and then your password, which is the default is your birth year. That's a 4-digit year, like 2001, if that's the year you were born, and the last 4 digits of your social security number. Make sure that you are able to log in there. So make sure you're reading the instructions for what the username and password are, okay? Questions about the student evaluations? Okay, when you're done with that, just take a screenshot of the confirmation page, and that might be a screenshot of your email. Sometimes it sends you an email when you've completed your student evaluations, or a screenshot that just shows that it's done, and upload that screenshot here where it says upload confirm completion of student evaluations. Okay, and remember, you get a grade for that. That means you can get a 0 on it if you don't do it. And that means, yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. I'm going to add that today so that you can upload confirmation of your registration for the spring. But that one's optional. This one's not optional. So I'm going over the non-optional stuff first. Okay. The student evaluations really are not optional. We need them, we use them. Your feedback is really important. We had last week, faculty sat in on a student panel talking to them about what school has been like for them. And one of the most important things I heard was that there are some students in classes that haven't had any work graded since August. Right? See eyebrows going up all over the Zoom session. Yeah, they don't know what their grade is going to be. And that's really shameful. And so student feedback is really important. That kind of thing needs to be reported even sooner than the end of the semester. But if you've had a semester where things didn't go well and your teacher wasn't showing up and wasn't engaging you in a decent class, please report that in these evaluations. Please let that be part of your evaluation. If your teacher did great, then give them really good evaluations. You don't have to take like 5 hours to do it. Just click on all the yeses, right? But they are important. If things are going well, we need to know that. If things are not going well, we need to know that. It helps us adjust and improve, okay? All right, so upload those here. I will put in week 15 the place for you to show that you've registered for the spring semester, but that is an optional assignment. It's a great way to boost your homework grade, and I'm excited for you to boost your homework grade with that. But I can't make you sign up for spring semester if you need to take a break or something. So it has to be optional, but it is a boost to your grade if you choose to do it. Those who don't choose to do it, it will just remain ungraded. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, I'm not gonna put a 0 in that if you're not registering for spring, but let me tell you something. If you don't register for spring semester, they're going to close classes that don't have very many students in them. And then those classes won't be available anymore, and you'll have fewer times to sign up for. Does that make sense? So it's, yes, sir? Okay, sign up for one of my times if you can, and I'll make sure you get the advising that you need. Okay, I'm in general studies, and we'll get you advised. I'm sorry that that happened. Did you sign up last week? Was it a time last week? Okay, but that was the week before last. I'm asking if you signed up on for a day that was during the Thanksgiving break. Okay, so it was during advising week, yeah? Okay. Do two things for me. Make a note of the name of the person who missed your appointment, and then go ahead and sign up for one of my hours, okay? Yeah? Okay, if anybody else needs help with advising, just let me know. If I need to, I'll extend my hours for advising online and make sure that all of my students get the advising that they need, okay? So just let me know. All right. I did have to cancel a couple of appointments because people signed up for Thursday and it was Thanksgiving. And I was like, I'm not going to meet with you on Thanksgiving. So, it happened. All right. Okay. Are we ready to look at the next thing? Okay. In exams, you have two things here. The revised research essay final exam required. The due date is not that. Let me fix the due date right now. Okay, the due date for this is the end of this week, and we'll talk about this in some more depth in a minute. But let's get to, it is due Sunday the 6th at 11:59 p.m. Okay. Please place a revised copy of your research essay here. And I'm going to go over that in some more depth in a moment, okay? And then, if you haven't finished it, there was a discussion board in week 14. Make sure you've done that. And then the final exam is set for December 7th, which is Monday, okay? Monday, December 7th. It says this test must be completed in a Zoom session with me, our regular Zoom link, okay, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Now, if you usually go to work at when we log off at 11:15, make sure you've made arrangements with work to be on until noon. This will not conflict with any of your other scheduled classes because I am following the exam schedule. Okay. If it does somehow conflict, let me know which class it's conflicting with, and I will reach out to that instructor and make sure they have a correct copy of the exam schedule. Okay? Questions about the exam day and time only? Any questions about that? Okay, you can see that it's conditional availability. It's going to open on the day. It's also got an access code, which means that you need to be in the Zoom class to open it, because I'm not going to give you the Zoom code the access code unless you're in the Zoom class. Okay, here's what you're going to need for the exam. Are you ready to listen? You might want to write it down. You ready to write? Okay. You are going to need a phone or tablet and a computer. The phone or tablet is going to need to be propped up in such a way that I can see you working at your computer. I can see your computer screen and you. Okay? And then your computer will be in Blackboard. Questions about that? if you need help problem solving with that, let me know. But you're not going to be in Zoom on the computer. You're going to be in Blackboard on the computer. You're going to be in Zoom on your phone or your tablet. Yes? Okay. You're going to need to practice ahead of time working it out so that you can prop up your phone or tablet to be pointed at your computer, right? But if you have to set something up back here, figure out how you're going to set it up back there. You don't want to be trying to figure that out for the first time while you could be writing your essay. Yeah? Okay. I will log on a few minutes early. So that we can work out those issues. So I'll log on a few minutes early that day, but we will get started with the exam right at 10 o'clock. The exam itself is asking you to write an essay on one of 6 topics. You have 6 topics to choose from. Please pay attention to the modes that the topics use. We've practiced argument, we've practiced reflection, we've practiced evaluation. We have not practiced comparison. So if you choose the comparison topic, make sure you know how to use the comparative mode. If you don't know how to write a comparison or structure one, maybe don't pick that one, okay? So pay attention to the mode that it's asking you to write in, okay, as well as to the topic. So if it says like, compare these 2 genres of music and you've never written a comparison before, even if you would like to talk about music, that's not your topic. We haven't practiced that mode, okay? You can do it, but it might not turn out so great. You might get dinged on organization if you don't know how to organize an essay in comparative mode. Does that make sense? Okay. There are ways to prepare for this kind of exam, and I'm going to tell you what they are. And I'm actually going to go ahead and put this in a document right here. Okay, so let's create this document while we're talking and get it going. So I'm going to call this How to Study for an Essay Exam. And there is a way to study for the essay exam. Okay, number 1, Google topics for English essays. 2, write down a bunch of topics. Include plenty you don't like. Why am I telling you to include a bunch you don't like? Anybody explain my reasoning there? Tyson, why might I advise you to write down a bunch of topics and include ones you don't like? I don't know, because I'm mean. Are you going to stay on with me, Tyson? Are you going to be able to like pick all 6 topics being ones that you like when you get to the exam, or is it possible that you will get to the exam and you will hate all 6 topics? That's entirely possible, isn't it? So if we're practicing for this, you don't want to cherry pick and just practice things you like, because that's not a realistic situation. You may very well have to write an essay on a topic you don't like. So try to grab them at random if you can. All right. And number 3. Is to put those topics in a bowl and mix them up and pick one at random. This helps you practice being assigned a topic at the last minute and you've got to quick figure out how you're going to deal with it, which is one of the things that slows us down the most. And if you practice dealing with whatever you pull out of the bowl, you've practiced that anxiety and your anxiety goes down because you're like, okay, I can handle all these different topics. I'm good. Okay. Set a timer for 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, okay, and you set a timer, and in that time period, that 10 minutes, you try to write one paragraph from that essay and mix it up. First try a thesis paragraph, then try a body paragraph. You might even try a concluding paragraph for something. You can also practice writing a quick outline in 10 minutes, okay? The concept here is if you can plan an essay in 10 minutes and you can draft a paragraph, how long is it going to take you to do a draft of the essay? Come on, math people. If you can plan the essay in 10 minutes and draft a paragraph in 10 minutes, how long is it going to take you to have a draft of a 5-paragraph essay? Let's try that again. If you can do a plan in 10 minutes and you can do a paragraph in 10 minutes and you have 5 paragraphs, how long is that going to take you to have a draft of the essay? 60 minutes, that's 1 hour. Okay, so the concept here is that if you can plan an essay in 10 minutes and you can draft 1 paragraph in 10 minutes, you can have a draft of your essay done in about an hour. And that leaves you the second hour of the exam to work on detail and development, organization, and editing. Okay, and it only takes you 10 minutes to practice, right? So if you practice 10 minutes a day, between now and the exam, you'd have 7 practices, right? And that would be really great. Now, I've had a student use this method. At the beginning of the semester, he was writing about 1 to 2 paragraphs in a 75-minute class, and that wasn't great, right? And he practiced this, and he actually did it every day for a month. And by the end of that month, he was writing full 4.5 paragraphs, 4.5 paragraphs in 75 minutes. So he improved his time significantly. So if you struggle with timed writing, practice this. And y'all, if you struggle with typing, it's not going to help you if you handwrite it, right? So crack open the computer and practice typing these instead of handwriting if typing is your challenge. Okay, does that make sense? It's not going to do you any good to practice handwriting it because this is a typed test. Do you have questions about this practice method? Anybody have questions about this practice method? Great. I hope everybody tries it and uses it. It's really a great way to practice. I know for an essay exam, a lot of students feel like they can't study for that, and then they go into it feeling poorly prepared. And I want you to actually have a way to study for that essay exam, okay? Other things to think about with the essay exam. If you finish in an hour, should you say, I'm done and log off? Prentice, if you finish this essay in an hour, should you just feel like, woohoo, I'm done, I'm out, bye, peoples? What should you do with that extra hour if you finished a draft in an hour? And add to it and change it and improve it, right? You may have an essay done in an hour. You don't have an A-level essay done in an hour. And nobody has done their best work in 1 hour. I could spend 2 hours writing an essay and I'm a published author, right? You can definitely spend 2 hours working on this and I expect you to. Yes? Okay. If you have work conflicts, again, make sure you talk to work about making sure that you're available during this whole time period. So we don't go from 10 to 11:15 on this day, we go from 10 to 12. Okay. If any of my students are working with additional time and a half, please send me an email this week to set up whether we are going to do that additional time beforehand or afterward. I just need to know that from you, and that needs to be done in private and not in front of the rest of the class. So if you have an accommodation that you're using time and a half, just send me an email and let me know whether you're available to have that additional time before class or after class. Okay, does that make sense? All right. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not talking to you. Generally speaking, you know if you have that accommodation. Okay. It is a time when you will need to be up and at a workstation and in a place where you will not be seeing distractions. I know during class, I tend to see a lot of people talking to their loved ones who come in and out of the room, and you're going to need to ask them to stay out of the room. Because if I see you talking to somebody, I'm going to have to unmute you, et cetera, et cetera. So, on that day, the Zoom session is going to be configured so that you are not able to mute yourselves, but I am able to mute you. So I'm going to be in charge of the mute that day. So if I need to talk to you or listen in, I'm going to be the one in charge of your mute buttons that day. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, make sure that you're going to be in a location where I can listen in if I need to listen in. Music should be turned off. You know, make it a test session. Okay. Questions about the exam, the final exam, the one on December 7th. All right, let's talk about this research essay. The research essay was due in what, week 11 originally? Let's double check that. I think it was week 11. Yep, it was in week 11. So that's where you go to get yours. If you didn't save a copy of it, you can open it through the week 11 space and find a copy and work from there. Make sure you've looked at your feedback through the gradebook. Everyone's feedback should have either said, this is fantastic, I love you, you're completely done, or it said, this is pretty good. When you're revising for the end of the semester exam, please focus on this and this and this. Generally speaking, those things are the punctuation around citations and quotations and that sort of thing. Those were the things that were difficult for most people. Some people needed to work on quote integration. Some people needed to work on being consistent that their citations were there. Some people needed to work on that works cited list a little bit. Whatever it is that you were asked to work on, you're going to work on it and you're going to upload that new copy here. Okay. Now, again, if you liked the grade you got on it the first time, you don't have to revise it. Okay. But if you did not like your grade, if you got a B and you'd rather have an A, if you got a C and you'd rather have a B, please make sure that you are working on the things that you were asked to work on. I had somebody ask me, they said, so I just read it over and upload it again. Are you going to get a better grade if you don't make any changes on this? Savannah, talk to me. No, I mean, it seems like an obvious question, and I'm sorry to have embarrassed you by making you answer it. But if you don't make any significant changes to it, your grade's not going to improve. What if you improve one or two tiny little things? Is that going to bring you up a whole letter grade? Elizabeth, talk to me. I see you thinking. I see you shaking your head. Talk to me about that. What do you need to bring something up a whole letter grade? Sure. What kind of work are you going to need to do on this revised research essay to bring it up a whole letter grade from where it was? All right, I can see that you're struggling. If you're struggling, other students are struggling too. So I want to talk to students about the research essay rubric, okay? The rubric is how you were graded on this, okay? And the criteria are detail and development, source use and quality, organization, grammar and mechanics, citation skills, syntax and diction, originality, tone and awareness, okay? Now, you had columns where you were really successful and columns where you struggled. So let's say that with source use and quality, you scored here. The essay employs fewer sources than required, or sources are not at collegiate level. Source introductions are incomplete, inconsistent, or show lack of understanding of the source. Quote boundaries are unclear in places, or quote integration is not grammatical. So you would need to change the answers from this column to the answers here. The essay employs acceptable collegiate level sources. Source introductions are present but may be awkward or inconsistent. Quotes have been used, but quote integration skills may need review. So you're going to need to make sure that your sources are at collegiate level, which most of you are not struggling with that. Most of you got me bossing you around on that pretty well. But this might be the issue. Source introductions are incomplete, inconsistent, or show lack of understanding of the source. You may need to go through and consistently fix all 4 of your source introductions. Quote boundaries are unclear in places, or quote integration is not grammatical. You may need to go in and look at your quote integration all the way through to get it to be in this description, or better yet, this description over here. Does that make sense? Now, you all have access to this rubric in your feedback, right? Does everybody know how to get to that rubric through the gradebook? If you don't, stay on at the end and I'll see if we can walk you through it, okay? But I want to make sure that you are using that rubric to help you figure out what area. I don't want you strategically, I don't want anybody just reading it over going, I guess it sucked, I guess I'll fix it, or going back over it. If it says grammar and mechanics, where should you take it? You should take it back into Criterion and make sure you've used all of Criterion's advice and resolved all of the issues Criterion was observing for you, right? Citation skills, an in-text and a works cited list are present but need significant review of MLA conventions. This is a lot of people got low here, right? Now, keep this in mind. That's in-text citations and works cited list. If they're missing, that's that 0. So make sure that if that was you last time, it's not you this time. So if you got this, then you need to work on both the in-text citations and the works cited list, right? And make sure those are good. So you need to be strategic here. If your only issue is syntax and diction, you probably don't need to revise because you got an A. But if it was really problematic, then I have said to you that, hey, I need you to work on your sentence structures and make sure that they're clear, that they're correct sentences, that they make sense, and that you've read them out loud and you've checked that they make sense. Okay. Originality was really only an issue for students whose quote boundaries were not clear, or who plagiarized parts of the essay that were not supposed to use sources, and they pretended that parts of those were theirs. And I think I've addressed that individually with those students at this point. Okay. Questions about this rubric and how to use it to revise your research essays? Okay. I'm going to, once again, I'm going to close out of this and I'm going to make sure that you see where to put everything. This is in the module called Exams, Revised Research Essay and Final Exams. The research essay is due at the end of this week. The final exam is Monday. We will have a chance on Wednesday to touch base and have you ask questions. I'm going to add the thing to show me that you've registered. And that's it for this week. We are finishing up. A couple of students have asked about stuff they turned in during the Amnesty Week. And I will be working on grading on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. Okay? Tuesday in particular, because that's the day my daughter's not in school. We have moved to a place in our lives over here where I am teaching 6 college classes and a 3rd grader 3 days a week now, and she only goes to school 2 days a week. I know a bunch of you may be in the same boat with your own kids, so we're just going to try to extend each other as much grace as possible while we get through that situation. Questions about that? Like, she's home right now, she's doing some sort of homework, or she's sort of doing some sort of schoolwork right now, I hope. I hope. All right. Questions about this week or next week? That's correct. I extended the deadlines for Amnesty Week, so if you still have outstanding work that you have not completed or something that you wanted to complete during Amnesty Week, you have until Sunday to get that done. Okay? That is correct. Those go in the original spaces. Okay? And I will be doing grading each day, and then after we're done with this week, I'll do another round of grading the following week, again on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. We have a meeting today, we have a meeting Wednesday, and we have a meeting Monday. And after that, we don't have any more Zoom meetings. Okay. Unless you need to email me and ask for some Zoom time. And you can do that. You can email me and ask for some Zoom time, but we don't have, after our final exam on Monday the 7th, we're done. It's all done except the grading. Okay? Questions about that? I haven't looked at any of the stuff for Amnesty Week yet because I've been on Thanksgiving break. Okay, but to answer your question, I will look at the Amnesty Week things that were turned in on Tuesday. I'm going to start looking at them on Tuesday. The research essay needs to be uploaded. Where does the revision of the research essay go? Does it go in the original space? I'll check it Tuesday. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I'll definitely check it. Anybody else? Didn't I email you about that last week, Caitlin? I know, but didn't you email me and tell me that and then I replied? Okay, check your email on that. I think you sent me an email about that and I think I replied to you. Okay, any other questions? I'm confused. Can you tell me which essay? Wasn't due until week 15. Didn't ask students to even start it until week 15. I want you to go over the rubric and make sure you've addressed the issues where you were low in the rubric. And if you turned it in already, make sure you've done the work I asked you to do today on it, and then turn it in again having done that work. Yes? Fantastic. And where is that site? Where is the place to turn that revised research essay in? Is it in the original assignment space or is it in the exam section? Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, any other questions about that? All right, y'all, if you know what you're doing, you can log out. If you have additional questions or there's something you need to workshop with me, please stay in for the workshop portion of the course, and I'm gonna end our recording. 1 second, love. Let me get our recording to stop, okay?